Hey, one and all. It's your pal Drew Dracy, longtime comic book veteran, three-time author on Amazon, and hey, I'm a fanboy deep down in my gut. I never outgrew it, so there. You can't outgrow greatness like this. P. Craig Russell. This episode is going to focus on P. Craig Russell, who you've seen a lot more of his stuff in the 70s when he first started off on like the tail end of an Ant-Man story in Marvel feature that was then he did some other fill-ins, just odd, like all the artists did. They would grow up in public, basically. He started off with just a very standard style that was, let's see, I'll show you later. Anyway, how often do you get to redo a story from scratch and get it published? I have to say I don't recall. I've seen album-oriented issues that would show like the backstory of the Fantastic Four for the first 120 issues or something like that. But this is a double-size issue that was redone, but from the ground up by P. Craig Russell. Whereas it started off as a 1976 annual. Give me a second to find that bad boy. Okay, there we go. And beautiful Dave Cockrum cover. Boy, that coloring sucks. I'm sorry. Lost all the light, all the shading on the face, which is crucial. So, and if you're that colorist watching this, then I apologize, sorta, for saying it sucks. But guess what? That wasn't the one that P. Craig Russell submitted. This is what was supposed to be the cover. And that's just wonderful. But you know what? The cover wasn't Marvel enough. It didn't have the hard edges and the, jutted jaws and the. This was too. It just flourished too much into the realm of fantasy art, which I think they should have kept. But back then Marvel was kind of like every cover had the same superhero urgency. Like this could have been the cover of a reprint of Sergeant Rock. It could have been, Spectacular Spider-Man. It could have been Captain America. So, with the hyperbole. And I've mentioned before that I like this kind of stuff, but there should be some exceptions. I mean, that's all I gotta say. Well, what happened is after the cover was bumped for Dave Cockrum's, he altered the piece and put it in Wits End number 10. And you see, he just basically loses the Dark Strange garb and changes the woman's garb a bit. And I love that hair. Now, this Wits End was a fanzine all done by professionals. Wally Wood had started it. I believe Steve Ditko actually contributed to it, as well as a lot of big names. And also, bear in mind, this is the 70s, okay? We don't have internet. We have phone numbers, and we don't have... if you get a call from a stranger, you don't know where it came from. So it was a very different time. So mail order was a big deal at the time, with subscriptions and comics too. Well, this one is an unused cover for another one. CPL reprinted it, which is, I think it's contemporary pictures and literature. The vital thing about this is it was a fan letter that came out by Roger Stern, Bob Layton, and John Byrne. And sometimes really established artists will just go ahead and they want to see print somehow. And so we'll go right into this. 1976. So it's plot art colors by P. Craig Russell. So and that's very unusual back then. Stranko and Neil Adams did that in the late 60s, but not a lot of other people got away with that kind of stuff. And because comics were publications that had to come out on time, and you have a good job and ruined by a shitty inker, or a good inker trying to fix a hacked out piece of wannabe storytelling. So it's already really, really advanced. I think that Doctor Strangehead there is a little... It looks like it was touched up because it's a lot rounder than the face that's here. So, and you can see like little hints of like You might see Kevin Nolan seeing something like this and go, I kind of like the way he's treating the cheekbones and all this. So this is already a really good. My only hang up is way too wordy, and that's because Marv was doing the. He was doing the lyrics. I was going to say he's doing the script, but back then it was a given. You had to write. You had to overwrite everything, and sometimes even to the point of like telling your readers what the hell they're looking at. But although this isn't much like it, and Tomb of Dracula was easily Marv Wolfman's greatest Marvel story of 70 issues, I think, just about. But anyway, back then in the 70s especially, and even further on, it was almost like these writers were paid by the word. Like back in the pulp magazine era with The Shadow and Doc Savage, the writers got paid a penny per word, and so you had a lot of people just flapping out these stories, and some were good, some were derivative. So really, and it's this whole thing is so different, and that kind of stuff just didn't really. It's so fantastical that you would see somebody like what's that guy, Morato? I don't know if he's a Filipino guy or not. You'd see in the magazine, you'd see a lot of this kind of thinking outside the box, like Alex Nino, and which I'll cover in a future episode. I mean, this is already amazing stuff. I mean, anybody would be proud to have this. Here comes, there it is, Alondria, Stefan, there's my home. It's basically like Atlanta. It's like Atlantis coming up out of the sea. And those inks are just so dynamic and crisp. And I love, and you can even see here maybe a little influence on Sandy Plunkett, who P. Craig Russell inked in a previous episode. And Craig Hamilton, good guy, he was definitely influenced by P. Craig Russell. It just wasn't like, Steranko went for bombast and wild tricks that pushed the envelope of comics. Adams, the same, except he brought like a real gritty realism to where you could actually feel like he touched Green Lantern on the nose or something. But this ornate style, it really was it was Barry Windsor Smith was starting to do that on Conan as he progressed, and then P. Craig Russell kind of followed afterwards. This is a Mike Plug piece, by the way. It's just a cover showing his very first work. So you see it's pretty standard, and definitely redraw and face there. It's either Romita or one of those other many artists. And it's serviceable. It's good, but that's how you broke in. You had to learn how the other guys did it. Okay. When I found this, it's a 48-page standalone story. What is it disturbed you, Stefan? And it did get a little promotion in Marvel Age magazine, but I didn't hear anything about it. There might have been bulletin boards back then, but the internet was not really a fraction of what it would end up being, for better or worse. And Laverne Kaczynski is doing the colors, and probably my favorite, the best color job I ever had was Legends of the Dark Knight 109 through 111, where I inked Dusty Abel over a Steve Englehart story, and Laverne Kaczynski did the colors, and that's still my favorite coloring application ever on something I've worked on. Great lettering by Galen Showman, and I think Galen also assists P. Craig on some of the other books he's done for Dark Horse adaptations of operas. It's heavenly. I'm showing these. These little creeps, I love them. And it's like, poor Doctor Strange, ha ha ha. Well, I think I might have shown this to you earlier, but hang on, I'm going to get my hack together. I hope I do. No. Wait, I thought it was early on. Okay. this was completely redone. This was the same image. It might have been a photostat, and that's not a big deal because, everybody, if you got something that detailed and crazy, there's that face, and then there's that face 20 some years later. And the lettering and the art are one. And I don't have a whole lot to say other than this is just staggering. It's so... I can't think of enough synonyms for lush, gorgeous, fantastic, brilliant storytelling. So I really recommend this. It is a 48-page standalone story. It's the same story. It's just that he redid a lot of it, and I'm certain he front-loaded a lot of this work before he presented it to Marvel because they probably wanted most of it in the can before publishing such a thing. But the thing is, again, it's like that previous annual. There was nothing to be afraid of. Here comes Ditkopoulos, named after the legendary Steve Ditko, genius, creator of Doctor Strange. I know there's a lot of things where Steve and Stan and Jack and all that said they would co-create that, but well, Doctor Strange appeared in the month it appeared. It said in the bullpen bulletins that we hope you like this new feature. I must admit, 'twas all Steve's idea. So there you go. So Stan basically dialogued what was going on with. I'm not here to start a Stan versus everybody sort of thing, but I just want to make that clear. And what's interesting too about that lettering? It puts me in mind of Metropolis, the movie from Fritz Lang's movie from 1920 something, which I recommend you see if you haven't seen it. That's astonishing. The glory that is Ditkopoulos. I'm going to go back to the old annual. I'm sorry I didn't mark it up the pages as much, but okay. Oh, there's that. Just enjoy. Just breathe in. Breathe deep. The gathering gloom. Fuck it. I'm not going to breathe deep. So, it's like spun gold. It's like spun glass. It's so precious in the best possible way. And that's pretty tricky there too. So I really recommend it. There's try to see if there's anything else he did in here. So go get it. You can either get the 48-page square-bound comic, or you can get this at your local comic shop. Check their trade paperback stock, or eBay. And there's a lot more to it. And I don't want to share the other stuff because other great artists such as I guess I could jump into this real quick. No, I won't because I'm trying to focus on one thing. P. Craig Russell inked a lot of other artists on Doctor Strange related stories, and there's also some fantastic artists from different creators like Michael Golden, Marshall Rogers, etc. There's a Sandy Plunkett story, but that's for another time. I just wanted to share this, and after 2 decades, a creator managed to go back and come up with the gem that he had in his mind the whole time, even if he didn't know it at the time. It's really brilliant work, and anybody who appreciates comic book art should get this. And that's it. I'll talk to you later. Bye.